Welcome back, everyone, to the Chip Lunch podcast. It's very good to have you along with us, and it's also very good to have my guest here on the Chip Lunch podcast in the Third Base studio with me today. And today it is Amelia.
Hello.
Hello.
I am Amelia.
Hello, Amelia.
That's my name.
Well done. Thank you for confirming that. Now, I'm excited because what we do is, like, as you would know, with the Chip Lunch podcast, we get different guests on. We chat about all different things, in terms, especially about how they became Christians and their Christian journey. And what I'm excited about is I feel like we're going to have good conversation because you're doing like a conversational activity at the same time. You've brought a cup of tea, should start with that first, but then you're also knitting at the same time, which is lovely.
Got the grandma vibes going.
Yeah, well, but I feel like, you can, like, it is a very good activity that creates conversation.
Yeah,
definitely. Do you find that while you're...
Yes, definitely. I completely agree. I feel like the amount of times that I've been knitting in a conversation, it's like, oh, what are you knitting? Or it kind of like reminds me of this thing, or, like I used to knit back when I was a child, and it's like, well, why don't you knit now? And it's like,
well, because of this, and you find out lots of different stories.
Yeah, you find out lots of different stories.
Now, you were telling me before this is going to be a sweater.
Yes,
is that right?
Eventually. At the moment, it's just a square, a very long square, like a rectangle. That's the word, a rectangle.
A large rectangle.
A large rectangle. But I think I'm about, I want to say 3/4 of the way through this bit. And then I have to do the sleeves, because this is the second bit that I've done.
Is this the front or the back?
This will be the front, because the back is filled with holes. So I knit the back first, and disclaimer, I was saying before, this is the second knitting project that I've ever done, and I didn't finish the first. It was a scarf, and I got about 1/3 of the way through and went, nope, I'm done.
I'm not doing that.
I'm going to try something different. And so I started knitting a sweater, because that seemed like a logical conclusion.
Wow.
But yeah, so second knitting project ever, and the other panel that is this one is filled with holes, because I'm not very good at it. But I feel like I've gotten better.
Yeah, that's when you're not
gotten
good yet.
better as I've been doing it.
It is your only second project, and so you took a scarf, which is like it seems like a reasonable starting project for knitting, and you decided you weren't going to do that and make it even harder for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like I kind of looked up on the internet like easy knitting patterns, and like kind of scrolled through them and went, I don't want to do any of those. I'm going to knit a jumper.
One more. Can I ask you one more question about the knitting though? What's the choice behind the color scheme? It's black and I don't want to get that color wrong.
I wanted it to be like a bumblebee, like a bee kind of vibe. It's like black and yellow. But although as I've been knitting it, everyone's been going, oh, it reminds me of like Hufflepuff, or like those kind of vibes, like Harry Potter. House is like that, and I'm not a Hufflepuff. Like when I did the sorting quiz online, I was a Gryffindor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I think I got Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
When I did the quiz,
I feel like I did it when I was like maybe 15, and I was like, I want to be like Harry Potter. I want to be like Harry Potter, so I got to be Gryffindor. Yeah. But like I feel like looking back, actually Hufflepuff makes a lot more sense. You know.
Why is
I feel like maybe I've like evolved into a Hufflepuff kind of person.
Into a badger. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the symbol they have.
Just become a badger.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I feel like it looks a bit more like the beehives that are in the Disney version of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely have a bit of an obsession with Winnie the Pooh, so that's kind of fitting a little bit.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I like Winnie the Pooh, but I only like classic Pooh. I don't like.
Really, you don't like the Disney?
No.
Dang.
And
what about the remake? What did you think of the live action movie they brought out? Like,
I haven't seen that, unfortunately. Actually,
it's actually I liked it. It was a bit sweet. It was it was Disney-esque, but like it was a little bit more akin to the like classic.
Well, I grew up with the classic Pooh before like Disney became a thing, so that's probably why. Yeah. But I also think classic Pooh is way funnier. If you've ever read the books.
I feel that. I don't remember them very well, because I think I read them when I was like 5. And I also watched the movie when I was like 5.
Yep.
So, although I do remember that the Disney movie is a little bit boring, but maybe that was just because I was like a child.
Yeah.
And like, lots of things were boring to me.
Well,
But
see,
I don't know.
I grew up reading the classic Pooh, but also my mum got me these audio tapes, but they were like a dramatized version, and it was done by the guy that does. Older people might remember the show called Rumpole. Leo McKern. He was an Australian.
There you go.
He was an Australian actor, but he did a lot of stuff in the UK, and his voices were amazing. And so I will now read to my children in those voices from the classic Pooh stories.
I love that. That's so sweet.
And it's heaps of fun, and also it's really funny.
Yeah.
Like the way that A.A. Milne, the author, has written them is just like it's written to actually be enjoyable for adults and children.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Disney Pooh does that. But
No.
Anyway.
Well, even like as a kid, I found it boring. So I can't imagine that like my parents would have loved it as much. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
anyway.
Don't
Right.
know.
I mean, this is a great start to the chat, but
Yes,
because you're knitting,
chips.
probably. Why don't we ask the first question? Yes.
Yes.
How do you like to eat your hot chips, Amelia?
Oh, that's a good question that I have spent
All week
3 years,
preparing for.
3 years thinking about.
3
No,
years.
when did the Chip Lunch podcast start?
Oh, probably about, I reckon, a year and a half ago, something like
Okay, I
that.
might have been over exaggerating a little. All right, 1.5 years.
This is
thinking
your
about it.
episode number 53, just so you know.
okay. Okay, cool. Good to know.
Mm.
I have to say that my favorite, like, I love a good classic just down at the chip shop with covered in grease and a chicken salt. But I really love grilled hot chips.
Oh,
Like,
from the chain grill.
Yeah,
Yep.
like from the chain grill, but like that kind of like beer battered, but like with a little bit of herbs on it. Like you can get them at RSLs usually, you know,
Okay, yes.
that kind of
So that
a little
herby.
bit herby, a little bit salty, just like
I do
nice and
like that.
crispy. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are, I
crispy.
think,
A bit. They've got like rosemary in them and stuff. don't
yeah,
they?
like a bit of rosemary, just some nice sea salt.
Mm.
Really fancy.
Do you add a sauce to that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where I'm getting them from. So, like at Grilled, they have some sauces, and I
They
really
do.
like their like herbed mayo. That's
Yes,
really nice.
yes.
But if it's just at the RSL, I'll just have a little bit of tomato,
Bit of tomato sauce.
bit of tomato sauce.
It seems like the salt like works well with the rosemary, and then you put a bit of sauce on that, and it's like the
Yeah.
sweet and salty.
Yeah,
and
it's like it's good, the good balance of flavors, but it's got to be crunchy. I'm like
the balance of flavors.
the balance of flavors. They
It's
are
gotta be
called
crunchy.
French fries after all.
Oh, that's very true. It wasn't a French accent, though, I don't think.
No, it was not. It was not a very good French accent.
But you were saying they need to be crispy, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like so.
I don't think that rosemary works unless you are crispy. They are crispy,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Otherwise, it's just a little weird, you
Yeah.
know. Like potatoes are very versatile. They're a very versatile starch. I was going to say vegetable, but they're a vegetable. Yeah, potatoes are anyway. But
Yeah, are they, you know how like people come up with these different things of like tomatoes actually a fruit.
yes, but what is the justification behind that? Because
Oh, it's seeds, isn't it? Something to do with the seeds.
something to do with the seeds.
Yeah.
But then but they're like, but you wouldn't put like other fruit in a salad. I'm like, no, actually, I would definitely put fruit in a salad. It makes it delicious. Like
Yeah, That's
pear
fair.
salad, so good.
Oh, look, are potatoes a vegetable? Discover the truth.
I know that
And
they're
there
a
you go.
starch, but I
Yeah.
guess they're a starchy vegetable.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
And then there's like potatoes are definitely characterized as a vegetable, and their plant family is the nightshade. So they're a nightshade vegetable along with peppers and tomatoes. Tomatoes? I thought we were saying the tomatoes are fruit.
tomatoes,
Oh my
tomatoes
gosh.
are a vegetable.
This is what
then,
I just
according
class
to.
I just class tomatoes as and potatoes as
Well, I
vegetables.
mean, they're in the
'cause they
vegetable section
I feel like they
at
fit.
the supermarket.
It's not like a fruit. Like fruit is different. Like if you compare tomato to a mango,
yeah.
for example, that's why I think I categorize in my head. Anyway, let's.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like you're not alone in thinking that.
Thank you.
I feel like every time people bring it up, like, no, it's actually a fruit. It's like, yes, but would you put it in a fruit salad?
But be normal.
But be normal, please. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
All right, next question. That was great to hear about the chips. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
How did you become a Christian?
Yes. So I have similar. My brother Bradley was also on this podcast.
He was.
And my kind of journey to be a Christian is actually, well, I mean, I've kind of always known that God was in my life. I've always known about God. I grew up in not a Christian family. My mum's a Christian, but we never went to church. But my grandparents were very strong Christians, are very strong Christians. And so I would do my evening prayers with my nanny whenever she looked after me, that kind of thing.
That's
and like
nice.
all of that sort of stuff as I was little. And I always went to scripture and I remember we went to church on special occasions like Christmas and Easter and everything. But that was about it. And then it wasn't until high school that I really started exploring it for myself. So I remember in primary school there was a moment that like really confused me because we were talking about scripture. I was talking about scripture with one of my friends and she was like, I don't want to go anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, she's like, it's just like, I don't believe it and it's too boring. And I was like, how can you not believe it? Like, it just like shocked me. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird.
What year was that?
I want to say year 5.
Okay. Yep.
And because it was just like to I think because I've always known that God was real and God was there. And like, it was just like a weird, really shocked me because I was like, how can you not think that?
It was like everyone should believe this.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
Everyone does believe it.
Yeah. It was kind of like my worldview was like, what? But yeah, so it wasn't really until I started going to high school that I started exploring it for myself. So my brother Bradley started going to youth group with Ethan,
Yes.
who you all know.
Yes.
And like a bunch of boys went, but then I got invited to like a Christmas party or something like that, like a youth group Christmas party at the end of year 6. And I went along to that and like met a bunch of people there, but I also met Nadia, who has since moved to Tasmania. But Nadia and I started going to youth group together in year 7. And at first I was really tentative. I was like, no, it's Bradley's thing. Like, I don't want to like intrude on his thing. And, you know,
Can't be like my brother.
I can't be like my brother, but also like, I don't want to like step on his toes or like make him seem uncool. And then Mum was like, just ask him. Like, he'll definitely want you to come along. It's okay. And so then I actually don't think that I asked him. Bradley and I didn't talk very much back then. Like, aside from fighting, as like children do sometimes.
Yep.
But I think that, I think actually I did, or Mum said something and Bradley was like, no, you should definitely come. And so I started coming along to youth group. And I was like not super regular at first, but then like the more that I started getting to know people, the more that I was like, no, I want to be there every week. It was great. And that was that was actually pre-factory. So
Yeah, down at President Avenue.
Before we came here. But youth group was like, we were just going around to different people's houses and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we call that those times when we have to do that in the wilderness kind of thing.
Yes, in the wilderness. So I remember just like getting a tour of a bunch of different people's houses and like it's great. Jumping in the Darvell's pool before I even knew that it was the Darvell's house. Like it's chaotic.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I had been nervous to start because I was like, but I don't want to step on Bradley's toes. But like when I was there, like everyone was just so lovely and welcoming. And it was also just like, I started kind of thinking about God myself as well. And just going, no, yeah, this is what I believe. And this is really powerful and important as well. And especially at that time when you're like in year 7, in year 8, and you're kind of figuring out who you are and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think a big aspect of like what has shaped who I am, obviously, is my Christianity and God and God's love. And so kind of there wasn't ever really a moment that I went, I'm a Christian, because I kind of had that really long journey of like always knowing but not really knowing. But there was a moment where I went, no, this is what I want to spend my life doing. And that was at Kick in, I want to say it was year 10. It was either year 10 or year 11. But we went to Katoomba Youth Convention with youth. and I even think that I might have started light leading at the time. So, so it must have been year 11 because I started light leading after then. So I went to Kick with everyone as a light leader, and there's a moment at the end of Kick that they like get everyone to like close their eyes, and like if you believe in God, then you can put your hand up, and if you want to become a Christian, you can put your hand up and go outside. And then after that happens, they're like, and if you want to recommit your life to God, then you can put your hand up and go outside. And I was like, no, actually, I want to do this. Like, I want my life to be devoted to God and to serving Him and spreading His word. And so I got up and I went and I got my own Bible, but they were like, here's a Bible, but you've probably already got one, so give it to someone. And so I took it home and I gave it to my friend, who was like, thanks. And this is actually the same friend that was in primary school, was like,
I still don't believe this.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I still pray for that friend. She's not yet a Christian, but but yeah, no. So that was kind of like the big pivotal.
It was a pivotal moment.
It was a pivotal moment. Yeah.
And how old were you then when that happened?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, I became a
15
Christian
or
at a
16,
similar time.
around then. Yeah.
It's a really interesting moment that a lot of people make their commitment or a recommitment then. Like, I think for me, I've probably told this story on the podcast a couple of times, but I think I became a Christian when I was around that age, 15. Yeah, probably 15. But I made a recommitment at my first ever week away, which was in 2004. So that was when I was 18. I was 17 or 18. So I would have been 17 actually. But yeah, it's interesting how we have those certain points where, like, I don't know, I do want to do this. Like, there's these moments where it's almost like you're kind of teetering, and then you finally like take the plunge in a sense. But it happens to some people, and then others, like some people that we've had on the podcast, grow up in a Christian family and go, oh, now I need to take on the faith myself. But then for me, coming from a non-Christian family, it was like, oh, I've got to make the decision. And then you're like, oh, this is like your foot in two worlds kind of thing. And then I've finally made a commitment. It's like, oh no, this is what I want to do. So thank you for sharing that story. It's a good one. What, just a couple of things that you mentioned during that, like talking about that journey of becoming Christian, was you said that your family, your mum is a Christian, but your dad isn't. What kind of impact do you think that has on your faith, for example? Like, is that partly maybe why it took a while to make like that, had that pivotal moment? I
think so, yeah. I think we grew up there wasn't a lot of really strong Christian influences in my life as a kid. Like my mum is a Christian and has been a Christian, but she didn't go to church, and at least not while I was a kid. So she was always a guiding influence, but it was really like, I think both of my parents are really loving and caring, but I think especially, like both of them are. Yeah. Don't want to rat on my dad, but I think especially my mum has always kind of shaped her life around serving and caring for other people. So she like works in healthcare, in pharmacy, and like a big part of that is just wanting to care for people. And so I think that I always saw inadvertently the impact of God and the love of God there as well.
You saw God's love through what your mum was doing.
Yeah. And also just like as I kind of got older, like when I was a kid, we didn't talk about it very much. Like I talked to my grandparents about it a little bit, and like I said, like my nanny and my granddad were very strong Christians. My nanny still is, but my granddad sadly passed away. Okay. So I kind of saw through them as well. But like I think, because even though I was very close to them, like I didn't really see much of their kind of Christian life, I guess. Like just in terms of like, I knew that my nanny did the flowers at church and like this and that, but like just wasn't really I think when you're a kid, it just wasn't really in my perception of things. Like I was just not focused on it too much. So outside of just like scripture and stuff at school, I didn't really think about God very much, except for like I prayed a bit, and but it was mostly like dumb kid stuff like, please God, I don't want it to rain today, or like, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's dumb.
Yeah.
I reckon it's just your stage that you're at.
Yeah.
And then like, but even thinking about that, I think Tim made an interesting point about, we talked about spiritual maturity on a previous Shock Absorber podcast, and he talked about sometimes children may have a far more developed understanding of God and God's love in their life, but they can't articulate it as well. And maybe that's what you mean. Like. Yeah,
I think so. I think that like I said, like God has always been a part of my life, and I think the longer time to realize that wasn't that he wasn't there, and wasn't that I didn't believe in it, but it was just that I just hadn't quite figured out what that meant.
Yeah.
And so like you know, the parts of like his love and his compassion and care and everything, that really comes through to me through everything. And also just like I had a bit of a hard time in later high school. Like I lost my cousin when I was in year 4, year 5. And so really God, like it was whenever death comes up, God becomes a part of the conversation typically. But I think that having the knowledge and the love of him, and also just being able to acknowledge like that I believe in heaven and I believe that she's going to be there because she was Christian, that really helped me, even though I was only like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And so kind of those kind of moments, and I guess more broadly, like in general, I think that just God's love, and he was always there.
He always had you kind of thing. Yeah.
He was always looking after me.
I was like it's kind of similar to that. It was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like, oh, there's just like something more, or there's something that I'm missing almost. And then I went to, like, I didn't hear about Jesus, you know, in my opinion, like the evangelical gospel of Jesus until I got to high school. And then slowly but surely I'm like, oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
I think that was the same for me. I think that like I knew the Bible stories and I knew like the broad strokes and everything, but I didn't really know the story, like the gospel story. And I didn't really get that.
And why you needed Jesus.
And why I needed it. And it wasn't really until I went to high school. And I also, when you go to high school and you're figuring yourself out and everyone else around you is figuring themselves out, it can be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And like, that's really when I went, like, you know, the people around me were like being mean or whatever. And like, and also just, yeah, I think it just took me a bit of time to kind of come to this, well, once I heard about the word of God and like the gospel and started coming to youth and really hearing the gospel story, I think that was when it clicked and I was like, oh no, this is actually really important. This is why I need it. And this is also why stuff sucks sometimes. And like stuff sucks sometimes, but it's okay because you know, there is justice and there is grace.
I think that was the point for me too, is like the explanation, like understanding what sin was. It's like, why is there all this crap stuff going on that doesn't make me feel great or doesn't make other people feel great? And then you're like, oh, yeah, it's because the world is ravaged by sin.
Yeah.
And then there's a reason that we need Jesus to take care of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like there was a moment, there's a question that someone asked me once when we were talking about Christianity, and I don't think that she realized that I was a Christian, or like we were talking about something really sad that had happened. I can't remember what it was. Like it was just like when I like a really sad thing, or like something really hard that she was going through or someone else was going through. And she said, I can't believe that God would do this. And I went, I disagree in that God didn't do this, sin did. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, the reason that the gospel is so important is because this bad stuff happens because we're corrupt and because sin exists in our world and it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And Jesus' death on the cross is the fix to that and the grace and the hope in that. So, yeah.
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 I was just going to ask you a question too about, well, you said that like you made that recommitment at Kick. What do you think was different after that time for you?
I think it helped me to, I think I reassessed how I was treating God, and also just like why I was doing the stuff that I was doing. So becoming a youth leader, like a light leader then, but then eventually a youth leader. When I first started doing it, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Like, I'm not, I think like at the time I wasn't really a super committed Christian. And yeah, I was also just like, just, I felt a little bit disconnected from church, because I'd just been on a student exchange. So even though I was at a church in America, when I came back, after that, I think it was 6 months, at the end of year 10, when I came back at the start of year 11, also, the way that our youth group is structured is that once you finish year 10, you go into late night.
Yep.
And so I hadn't had an experience with late night before. And so all the people that I'd been going to youth with already, like, well, there was only a few of us, but the few people that had been going to youth were going to late night or not going. And so it all just kind of felt a little bit weird and like a little bit different. And I think I was also just like reeling a little bit from the big change. And so it was in April, around about April, so at the Easter service, Hayley was chatting to me, Hayley Spring was chatting to me at the Easter morning service about life and stuff, and I was like just opening up like, yeah, I really love church and I really love being a part of Soul Revival, but I just feel a little bit disconnected and a little bit kind of, yeah. And so she suggested that I start serving and like, why don't you become a light leader? And so that was kind of the point where I started light leading, like the second term of that year. And I kind of spent a little bit of time like trying to figure out why I was doing it. And I was like, I know, like, I just feel a little bit still on the outskirts. And I think that that Kick, the whole trip was really helpful because it was just really refocusing me on the gospel and on Jesus, and that as well, but also just helping me to kind of refocus my life and like, well, actually the reason I'm doing this is because of this, and this, and like, because it's really important. And like, yeah, it kind of just made me reassess. And also because I was in year 11, I was going into exams and like the most chaotic time of school ever. And it really helped me to have that refocus to go, oh, like it actually, one thing that I kept coming back to after that point and like through exams as well was, yes, this is stressful. Yes, whatever, this is important, but like, it's actually not important in the grand scheme of things because God's got it under control and he's got me covered. And I'm doing this for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was really how it helped. And then also I just like, I kept leading and, yeah, I think it just gave me a bit more of a focus and a bit more of a
Purpose.
A purpose, yeah.
And you mentioned a couple of times that, like, you've talked about school and it being a little bit difficult for you in year 11 and 12. But then I'd like to talk about that, but also you said that you went on an exchange program. So tell me about that and what that was like. So you went to the US?
Yes. So I went to Colorado.
Okay.
I went to Golden, Colorado. And I lived in,
The place is just called Golden.
Yes, it's like a suburb of Denver.
Okay.
Denver.
Okay.
But it's like right at the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And I was actually living in the foothills. So like I was staying with this lovely family, a lovely Christian family. And we had they have at the time they had 3 girls.
Mhm.
They now have a boy as well, but they've adopted.
Yep.
And they're just super lovely family. I'm really was an amazing experience. It was kind of, I did it because I really wanted something to I really wanted to step out of my comfort zone, and I'd always loved traveling, and it was kind of a way to do that. But also, yeah, it was a big deal, but like also my mum had been on exchange, so she was kind of hyping me up to do it.
Right.
And like, yeah, but like I really loved it. Like there were challenging parts of it. But I think that it was really like a really rich experience, I guess. But I was staying in the foothills of Denver, and like just like surrounded by mountains and hills.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I looked it up on the map.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And we were like basically almost like our house was like really on the outskirts, so it was like kind of almost country vibes, but not in the country, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like had this huge backyard, and like just random deer and elk would just like roam through.
Right.
Like one morning when we went to school, there was just an entire family of elk in the front yard, and we just had to like edge around them to try and get to the car.
Move.
Yeah. But you know, it was really cool, and like I got to experience like all of the American like things, like homecoming and White Christmas, except it didn't actually snow on Christmas, but like, you know.
That's surprising for Colorado, isn't it?
Yes, I know. So Colorado is like, it snows, but it's also very sunny. Okay. So like, especially Denver, I think they've kind of got this unofficial name of like the Sunshine City, because like it snows, but then it'll be gone in like a day. Mm-hmm. It's just so warm. And so it, like, I did have like snow days at school, and it was like the weirdest thing. Like I remember one time I was doing pottery. Also the classes were chaotic because I was like, I could be doing classes that will help me once I go back to school in Australia, or I could do the fun stuff.
Just doing pottery.
So I did pottery and like photography and choir, and we had to do US history as well. And it was just super fun. And I remember one day in pottery, we were like sitting there making our little, I don't know, pinch pots or whatever. And then someone goes, "Oh my gosh, it's snowing." And they all like looked outside and then went back to their stuff. And I was like, "No, I'm going outside." Like, you can't stop me. so I like stopped doing it, and they were like, "My gosh, you act like you've never seen snow before." And I was like, I have, but like I've never seen it outside my school classroom. Like, this is crazy. Yeah.
How do you get involved in an exchange program like that?
So this one was like, we went looking for it because my mum suggested that I went on exchange, and so we went searching. And this one was run by the Sutherland Council.
Oh, okay.
So they have like a sister city program with Lakewood, which is like the area of Golden, like the big broad district or whatever.
I see it on the map.
Yes, the beautiful.
Would it be kind of like a council?
Yeah, like a council, like
a council area.
So
an
that's
LGA.
An LGA, a local government area. Yes, and so they had the Sister City program, and like it was just like it was supposed to be a reciprocal exchange. So like we went over there, and then someone would come back. Our year, not enough people applied over there to come back, and so they were just like, we still want to send you guys, so we're just going to like ask for host families. And so we just had host families, and we went over, but they didn't come back. So I just kind of, we found it, and then went through the process, and like they did interviews, and like to make sure that you'd be okay and everything. And then like did all of these like matching things, and like,
you took place with a Christian family.
Yeah. So that was intentional, which was good.
I thought it might be,
but no, it was really good because, it was is perfect. It was just like
Oh wow, that's it. It sounds like it's just like
the
really impacted you.
The matching was
the
perfect.
matching was
I mean,
good. Right.
not
But
the
it still sounds like you had a really good time over
yeah,
there.
no, it was really good. It was also just like kind of gave me a bit of space. Like it was a lot. Like I mean, I miss my family quite a bit. But it also just gave me a bit of space to kind of, I guess, figure myself out a little bit
Mature
away
a
from
bit.
mature a bit. I came back and there was like a period of time after I came back that I was like, oh my gosh, all of my friends are just like in the same high school drama and like this and that. And like, I've grown. I'm better than this. You know, like they were probably very over it. But like,
This doesn't happen in Colorado.
yeah, like actually. But it was also just like, it was just a really cool kind of growth opportunity. And like, yeah, just being able to also see how, see a different kind of perspective on Christianity as well. So I went to church over there at, I'm trying to remember the name of it, not a Pentecostal. They call it a different name in America, but it's like...
Oh, Episcopalian?
I don't remember.
No, Presbyterian?
Presbyterian, I think maybe.
Okay.
I think it was a Presbyterian church. Anyway, I went to church over there and it was like this church that was... It was actually so cool. Like I sometimes still think about it. Like it was in the mountains, like near where I lived, but like it was overlooking the highway going up to the mountains. So there's this big valley, and the actual church, like the I guess the pulpit room, like this, you know,
where you listen to the sermon.
Where you listen to the sermon, that room.
That area.
That had like this big window at the back, and they always had these closed curtains over the top, over the windows. And then they would preach the sermon and everything, and then in the final song, in the final hymn at the end of the service, these curtains lifted and just revealed like the most beautiful, like picturesque mountain view. And it was just like, so it was just like a reminder of just like the glory of God and like seeing the beauty that he's created. And like there are some really beautiful scenes in Australia as well, but like I think when I was over there I really appreciated the scenery and the nature aspect of it.
Well, you
and
can't
like,
really get that kind of view, like the snow-capped mountains and stuff, very much in Australia.
Not as easily.
Yeah.
But you know, it was really, really cool. And also just like I went to youth group over there and like kind of just experienced a different, like, I don't know, approach to church as well. And like it kind of also made me like kind of like appreciate Solis and really appreciate the community here as well.
What was that like? What were the differences that you noticed?
I think like community, like the all age kind of all age, all stage kind of thing is a big thing that I noticed really evidently, was that all of the age groups and everything was just really separated from each other. Like even, you know, on a Sunday, very like it wasn't like if you were a teenager, they had a youth group, like a separate youth talk downstairs, and like you didn't go to the main one, you know, typically, like they did a few where they would combine them kind of thing. And then also just like, it just kind of felt a little bit disconnected, if that makes sense. And just like people knew each other a little bit, but just, especially I feel like the kids ministry and the youth ministry, I think because I was such a big part of it here already, like serving at youth, I noticed like just and also just the way that the group behaved a little bit. Like teenagers are teenagers wherever they are, but like I feel like especially, you know, I kind of witnessed this like not necessarily bullying, but just like not as inclusive, being kind to one another youth group. And like that's not to say that the leaders were bad or anything like that. No. And you know, like I said, like teenagers will be teenagers, but like also I think that one thing that Solis does really well is encouraging friendship and encouraging friendship regardless of age, and regardless of difference as well. And I think that because the main thing is that we love Jesus, not that we're like Sharkies fans or whatever, that kind of thing. Like, I think it was really helpful to kind of really recognize that, and also just like, acknowledge, different ways of doing things, I guess.
What and then so you came back, as you said, and like maybe had a few re-entry difficulties, if that's maybe the right word to describe it. You're dealing with like coming to be in a bit different, like you've gone over there in different, like come back into a different scenario. What you said is, here's Ethan, by the way. He's just
talking about America.
Yeah, we just finished. We just kind of
finished talking about
You
America.
missed America. I didn't tell any funny stories though, so
That-
I have lots of funny stories about America too that I
really?
haven't mentioned.
They're all equally hilarious.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Well, like I mentioned my pottery class
Yeah.
before, in that same pottery class, I had a few people in that class. It took them a bit of time to figure out that I was Australian. Oh, sorry. It took them a bit of time to figure out that I was Australian, but once they figured it out, they just like constantly badgered me with questions.
Where's your kangaroo? Like that kind of stuff.
That kind of stuff, but like legitimately like asking really serious questions. Like one time a guy asked me like, so like in Australia, do you guys just like only watch like Finding Nemo? And I was like,
Yes, exclusively. I actually, like, I do. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but as an Australian, it is the only film I have
the
ever
only
seen.
film
Wow.
I've ever seen. That and like Australia 2007. Like,
And
that's
Finding Nemo too.
Yeah.
It actually was great when that came out because I was
Yeah.
like, oh my
Great,
goodness,
finally
we
I
get
can
another
watch
movie.
a movie.
Yeah,
Like,
finally.
it's so
The
good.
second movie ever made in Australia.
it's
like,
great.
even though it's actually made in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it was like super serious. But like that wasn't even the funniest one. The funniest one was a different girl asked me, so like
Love this. This is great.
in Australia, do you guys have like running water? What? And like electricity?
Do you have running water and electricity?
And I was like,
How much did you play it up? Oh, you're
I
like,
thought
oh,
she
yeah.
was joking at first. I was like, haha, haha, that's so funny. And then she was like, yeah, like an electricity. And I was like,
Electricity.
you're being serious.
Do we not? Do we
Yes.
have electricity?
Yes, we have electricity and running water.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why you thought that we didn't, but okay. But I'm like, the only thing I can think of is that she was just thinking of like in the bush,
The
like,
outback.
you know, she's only thinking of like the outback and like.
But she's seen Nemo.
But like,
and she
yeah, they've seen Nemo,
They've
right?
seen
Like,
Nemo
they
is the-
know
is
we've got
the thing.
dentists, so
Yeah, we've
surely
got
we would have
dentists.
electricity.
And fish tanks.
and she's only
And
been
then- but
eating
then-
at Outback Steakhouse or something.
But then she was like, well, that's great. I'm glad that you've got running water and electricity because I really want to visit there, but I don't think I could live without Netflix. And I was like,
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
That
in your
is
defense,
outrageous.
In your defense, we only got Netflix like a year before this because we only got it in like 2015.
Yeah.
But still, it was
Wow.
pretty funny.
That's pretty
It's just
wild.
like, just chaotic. And it was also because she was just like dead serious. Like,
Did you laugh?
I did.
Yeah,
I
good,
didn't
good.
think that she was being serious at first. I was like, oh, that's so funny that you would ask that. Like, haha.
For anyone listening in America, we have electricity
We do.
Yes.
and
Running water too.
Running water.
Yeah.
And if you watch the film, our only film, Finding Nemo, you will witness both of those things.
Yeah, we're actually in Finding Nemo.
We are-
Right now.
right now.
This is Finding Nemo.
The aquarium is behind the camera.
Yeah. We're waiting for the dentist right
Wait,
now.
Finding Nemo's not in an aquarium.
Number 2,
is
there's
it?
an aquarium.
Is it?
isn't there?
I don't know if I've seen number 2.
I think
I think that's the whole thing
You
of number
should-
2.
this is
Yeah, the
your
whole
fault.
thing in
It's
number
just-
2 is that Dory's trying to find her family and they're from an aquarium.
This
From
is
an aquarium.
twice you've now exposed me to not seeing Disney movies.
Oh, sorry.
So sorry to interrupt with
That's
with
great to
such,
have you on.
with
No,
such
it's good. It's good.
thing. Was there anything next?
Yes, so we were just talking
Yes.
about coming back from America.
Okay.
That
Yes.
It was a little bit difficult for Amelia because she'd like left, experienced something different in Colorado, come back, and then You're also
Yeah.
thinking you're like way more mature
I'm
than everyone.
so mature. I don't need to deal with all this drama
I
anymore.
have life experience.
I have life experience.
And I've seen more movies than just Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
I was
since
like-
you guys. Since I go back, I've seen so many more movies than you.
Look at my running water.
Yeah. No, but like, it was it was kind of harder because it was like, and also just, I think also the whole, so my friendship group in particular was a little bit all over the place in year 11. And like people were leaving and dramatically exiting and like I'm
goodness.
moving friendship groups and like,
Oh, wow.
all
Well,
of
even
the,
in year
all of the
11?
drama. Like
Drama.
even in year 11, like I feel like most of it happened when I was like when I was away. And so then I came back and like 3 people weren't there. And I was like,
okay.
where's this person, and this person? And I was like, oh, they're not part of the group anymore. And it
We
was like,
kicked them. We don't talk to them anymore.
what? But it was also super weird because like before I went away, I was close with like one of them, and like we used to walk home from school every day. Then all of a sudden he wouldn't talk to me, and I was like, this is bizarre. It was like he didn't even like come up and say hello. It was like, this is so weird. I'm like, what is going on? Anyway, it was fine. We ended up having a chat. I don't know. Later, and then it was chill, but like it was just like, yeah, just stuff was weird. And also because I was gone for so long, I missed so much, and I was like trying to catch up on the goss, but also not really caring about the goss. But yeah, so it was just a little bit, it was a bit of a weird shift to kind of find my way, I
Yeah.
guess, in like school and life in general, I guess.
What school did you go? Like in when you
Kirrawee.
went to Kirrawee?
Yeah, so I was up at Kirrawee High. High. I also keep gesturing in directions, but like,
You're
just
doing fine.
imagine
It's over there.
You're doing
just,
fine.
it's somewhere in the vicinity.
Yeah, it is over there.
It is
You're right.
actually.
It's
It
over
is-
this
it
way.
is over
It's
there.
so over there
And like
that
before I gestured to
that Dave's
Sunderland,
gonna put a
which
thing
is- which
Oh, is he?
also-
yeah, he's gonna put.
I
He's
like
gonna
it.
put.
I like how we just make Dave.
Yeah,
do
he's gonna
stuff
put
when
Kirrawee
he's-
High right there.
Yeah.
Kirrawee High is right
Yeah,
here.
thanks.
I've got the thumbs up.
Yeah, well done. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. So with that, when you got back, and you're facing all this weirdness around
Turmoil.
in that turmoil, how is your faith going in that?
Yeah. So like I was, you weren't here. but
Yes.
I
If I
was saying
ask a
before.
question that has already been answered,
it's
just
okay.
tell me
no,
to shut
no,
up.
You're fine. Like I was, I kind of felt a little bit, discombobulated.
Oh,
Love that word.
Great word.
But microphone.
you're doing fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I came back and I like, as well as feeling disconnected from school, I just felt a little bit disconnected at church. And like stuff had changed, and because I was gone at the end of year 10, so I came back at the start of year 11, so I wasn't in youth group anymore, and I was going to late night. I feel like I was just a little bit like a bit unstable in general, like just everything felt a little bit like shaky. Not so much my faith in God, but more just I think everything was just a little bit all over the place. And so I think that was part of it. But then, like I was saying before, I started light leading, and
Haley really pushed you into start serving, and
Haley was really lovely, in that she was just like super helpful and just like listening to all of my school drama and like this and that, and also just me being like, I don't want to be a part of school drama and like this and that, and she was just super loving and helpful.
I think Haley's got some experiences with that too.
Yes, exactly, which is why it was super great. But then, yeah, and so she was like, and yeah, we were just having a really, really deep chat at the Easter service after I got back, so like a few months after I got back, and she was like, well, why don't you try like light leading and see, maybe that'll help you feel a little bit more connected and like a bit more of a part of things, and also just like getting a bit of that serving energy out.
Did that help?
Yeah. So it did. Like I said, it kind of took me a little bit of time to figure out what I was doing. It also was a little weird because I was like, I still feel like I'm a kid, but I'm supposed to be like leading kids. And I was like, what is going on? But then it was probably after Kick, which was really helpful. Greaves, we also did we were doing the Alpha Omega split at
Which
that time.
was year 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 in separate youth groups.
So yeah, separate youth groups of
In
year
the
7
same
and 8,
place?
9 and 10. Still in the same building and everything, but like the teams were like the team was a little bit split across those two groups.
Yep.
And so I was for the first term, I was kind of light leading Omega, which was the older group. So I was like extra like, I am the same age as these people and I'm supposed to be leading them. Like, what's going on? Then Greaves was kind of like, we think that maybe you should try the younger crew, and because it makes you feel a little bit less like you're just doing youth and more like you're in a leadership role. And so I was like, no, yeah, cool, great.
Good idea.
Good idea. Well, actually, at first I was like, no, I don't want to leave all my friends. But I think like I figured out pretty quickly that actually, no, this was really helpful. And also just like being able to, it kind of helped me to understand that all age, all stage thing and make some friends with some of the younger girls and some of the younger crew that I hadn't really hung out with and really just kind of dig my toes in to what it means to be a leader and also just what it means to serve. And so it really kind of helped me to reposition. I've said that a lot. But anyway.
That's good. It helps us get a title, don't worry.
Yeah, repositioning.
Repositioning.
Retargeting.
Anyway.
Rebranding.
Rebranding my life.
Rebranded by Jesus.
Rebranded by Jesus.
Branded with the poker.
Yeah, and he stuffed it up the first time. So got a rebrand.
You have mentioned light leadership a lot. Do you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, so
because some people might not know what it means.
Yes, so light leadership is the program that we do for if you're a kid still, I guess. So basically, if you in any year before, like any year, if you're in school, I guess, you can be a light leader. So. Like for really high school kids as well, they can light lead down. So we've got a few light leaders that are doing Fuse, which is the year 5-6 group, and then also
and that starts from year 9 to year 10. In year 9
leading.
and 10, you can start light leading Fuse.
Yep. And then once you're going into year 11 and year 12, you can also start light leading youth. So after you graduate at the end of year 10 of youth, you go into, we have the late night crew and we invite the year 11 and 12s to come along to that. But you can also choose to light lead at youth. And that's where you're a light leader, which is a leader without the pressure of being a leader, I guess. I don't really know
it's
how.
It's a taste of doing ministry.
Yeah, a taste of doing ministry. It's like a little bit, it's like you're still a leader, but it's kind of almost like
not as many responsibilities.
Guiding. Yeah, not as many responsibilities.
Bit of training.
It's kind of a bit of training.
There's a really great, the reason it's called what it's called is actually got nothing to do with weight or with light, like the lights, like electricity.
The bright stuff.
The bright stuff.
Wait, we have electricity?
Yeah, you're not supposed to tell anyone. It's actually to do with back in the day when apps started coming out on iPods and phones and things. You could get the paid app or you could get the light version. And so the idea comes from the light version, which was less features, less of the experience, and light leadership is cool because it's not less of the experience, and it's not less features. It's less. Like you're not expected to do as much. You are more able to pull out with things like school and things like assessments, and it is a really great way to dip your toes in and figure it out, and also to stay a part of the friendship group that you've been a part of for so long, and be incorporated into that as you go forward, because you finished school and kept youth leading. Yeah, which is
I'm still a youth leader now.
Yeah. Excellent.
So It
And
worked. The
even-
light leadership worked.
Even more
Successful.
mature.
Even more mature.
Even more mature.
Light leadership and going to Colorado. It's the way you mature.
It's the only way.
It's the only way
way.
to reach full maturity.
Yes.
I
If
don't
you
know
haven't
what
done
I'd do
those
without
things,
Netflix.
you cannot be mature.
Yes, that's
Sorry
right.
to say.
Also, electricity and running water required, but
And the
Yes.
odd kangaroo.
And the odd kangaroo.
kangaroo ride.
Yes.
My taxi is here.
Seeing more than one film is also important.
These are all the life boxes ticked.
Yes. Well done.
Speaking of life, what did you do? Like, that was cool to hear that you're still doing youth ministry now. So you're still doing that. What about the rest of your life? So you were telling me before we started recording that you're on your way to finishing a double degree.
On my way to
On my way-
finishing
Oh.
a double degree.
To extra maturity.
On my way to extra maturity with a fancy piece of paper.
Yeah, that's right.
With a fancy piece of paper that has a really weird name. So I was saying before.
Which is what? Oh, this is the creative. Yeah. So what are your degrees? Are you doing?
I'm in my 4th and final year of studying a Bachelor of Communications, majoring in creative writing and advertising, which I don't want to do, but that's okay.
You don't want to do that.
I
Okay.
don't want
You
to do
don't
the
wanna be-
advertising bit.
Okay. Keep going.
I'm actually, yeah, anyway, sorry.
I'm actually an author.
And,
I write.
and sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's right. The degree.
Yeah, so the degree. So and communications, that's the first degree. And then the second degree is the weird one, which is called Creative Intelligence and Innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first told my dad that I was doing this degree, he said, that sounds like you're training to become a spy. And I said, it's not at all what I'm doing, but I liked the sentiment.
No, see, I think the answer is actually that it is that. And
It's
you've
a-
just been
Oh, I
trained.
can't-
Yeah, it's the
You've
cover.
just been
No,
trained
I
really
can't
well.
tell people.
It's
You've
your
just been
cover,
trained
yeah.
really well to tell people that it's actually a
Mhm.
what degree?
Creative intelligence.
No, but what is it actually doing?
Oh, it's like
I mean, spying. I mean,
it's hard to describe because it's like it's transdisciplinary, which is a buzzword. I was saying before, it's a lot of buzzwords.
yeah, this is
So-
so sus.
I know, it's a great cover.
So
That's what I would say.
sus.
It's
So basically, the idea is that like students from across different kind of degrees and whatever come together to do this separate degree.
Are they? Are we gonna have to redact this episode? Just
Yeah,
do the
we
whole
might
thing
have
with
to.
just a black,
Yeah. I
swear
a
I'm
black
not a
thing over your
spy.
eyes. Just the little
and
like,
change your voice.
and change your voice.
I swear I'm not a spy. I'm not training to become a spy. If I do, honestly, that would be kind of cool.
Mm.
All right,
Yes,
now ASIO's not watching anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're
Tell us the real truth.
You're super convincing. Yeah.
But yeah, basically, it's like all of these people from across the uni come together. And we kind of like focus on like real world problems, if that makes sense.
Cool.
So like big picture stuff, like
Geopolitical.
stuff like
Missiles.
we've had
Missile launch codes and secret codes.
Underwater nuclear detonations.
Yep.
I was gonna say like sustainability and like
Yeah.
homelessness.
Like I said, great cover story.
Great cover story.
Great cover story.
Great cover story.
Yeah. I mean, like it is really weird degree. It's kind of all over the place.
You're gonna be a really mature spy.
I'm a really mature spy.
Excellent.
I'm really looking forward to becoming a spy.
Good. At UTS? Is
That's
that
At
what
a-
you're doing?
UTS,
That's
yeah.
a really good takeaway from
Is
this
that
whole
the-
discussion.
That's the one with the ugly tower, isn't it?
The very ugly tower.
Very ugly tower,
I
but
actually-
also
I'm
nice
very
buildings
aff-
around it.
I really like the tower. I've got a bit of a soft spot for it.
Mm.
Like it's ugly, but like
But it's my ugly.
it's my ugly.
Mature
it's
ugly.
It's my home. It's also got really cool views from the inside. So
Yeah, it does. I have seen
What I was
that.
going to say, so that's what I'm studying. I'm almost done, and I've actually started working like a few months ago at UTS Careers.
I love that you've totally blown it apart. It's like it's a really weird degree, but also it's great for your career.
Well,
Great. Is this why you don't want
I
to do the
don't- I
advertising
wouldn't-
part of your degree? Because you
I don't
can't.
wanna do
Because she
the
sits at her desk
advertising
and she
part.
pulls a lever that is disguised as a pencil, and she falls through the floor. And
UTS is
by
actually
the
just
time
like
she
a
gets,
secret
by the time she
headquarters.
gets to the secret headquarters, she has
is-
changed clothes.
Again, this is-
And UTS actually stands for ultra top secret.
Oh,
See, there you go. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have cracked the case.
The
There it
University of
is.
Top Secret.
This
I love
episode
it
has been
that,
redacted.
Ethan's version of Spies is just what he's seen on James Bond. It's like-
Honestly, every
and
single
it's like 1970s James Bond. It's
yeah,
not, it's
you
not
click the button
I'm
on top of
thinking
the on top of the pencil.
On top of the pen.
On top of the pen.
pencil,
See
pen.
again.
Pencil.
The pencil.
No, that's like
It's a
that's
pacer.
That's MI high, but that's fine.
Am I high?
I'll Google it. It's fine.
Okay, cool.
Am I- I'm
Yeah, we'll
I
talk about it
remember
after. We'll
that
talk about it
shit.
after the
Anyway,
podcast.
okay,
We're talking
okay,
about
yep,
Amelia
sorry,
right now
yes.
and her spying.
in my spying
Yeah.
that is actually doing social media for UTS careers.
Excellent.
Oh, okay.
But,
So you say you don't
um,
want to do the advertising part of it.
Yeah, so I don't want to do like advertising advertising. So
That's a
I
different
don't
thing.
really want to work in an advertising agency.
Yep.
Or like that kind of side of things. But I got
We're just playing with your
go for it.
wool cast-offs.
Yeah, go for it.
Mhm.
But I got this role. So the role, I'm currently a communications assistant.
Mhm.
Ooh.
And it's essentially like my kind of duties are covering the social media. So really doing that side of things, but then also writing. So I'm writing.
doing copy.
Yeah, doing copy, but also
Editing.
doing like blog posts and okay.
This isn't distracting at all. We promise.
That's fine. Yeah, so that's kind of what I started doing. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it after. I don't know. It's a job.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's your first
like-
job out of uni. That's
yeah, and
related
it's also
to your career.
also helpful because I'm working with the uni, like I am able to continue doing uni
Mhm.
at the same time.
And you get like a real.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
You like got a real in. You're
Yeah.
on the inside.
Yeah.
Fine. But what do you hope to do with it once you're finished? What would you like to do?
I don't know.
Okay, that's all right.
I just want to
Feel
say, if there are any strange gaps in this podcast, like what is about to occur, you know that the secret organizations have redacted things,
And
and so
censored us.
the editing, we've been censored.
Mm.
You can tell by this. So, really, what did you?
You gotta like leave a long pause and just like just randomly cut and then like
Yeah.
red
Yeah.
flag and then just like have to like.
I am so sorry for interrupting you. I got a little bit carried away on the spy thing. You were saying.
I don't even remember.
I can't remember either.
What about being a
What am I
Christian
gonna
at
do?
uni?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Refocus the conversation.
Yeah.
So I think I've always loved storytelling. So I think in terms of what I want to do in the future, back to that question, sorry. I think I want to do that, but then also I think something that has really shaped me and been really powerful is like Christian storytelling, I guess. And like having stories about Christians and about Christian perspectives and Christian characters as well. But like, yeah, I don't know what I want to do in the future.
Christian
but I
fiction?
feel like, yeah, Christian fiction, but also not Christian fiction, if that makes sense. So like
Just fiction.
mainstream with Christian characters so
Mm.
that it can hit non-Christian
So,
audiences.
so Tolkien, not
yeah.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis is a bit like Tolkien too, though, isn't he?
Both.
No,
like
C.S. Lewis
the-
is like, I'm going to write an allegory of the book of the gospel, so when people
Mm.
see the lion, they know the lion is Jesus.
Okay.
Whereas Tolkien's like, I'm not. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got a few cool themes that come out of my Christianity.
Yeah.
But it's not really.
Okay, that's
Mm.
fair.
Yeah. I like both of them. I
Mm.
don't know.
Depends what the idea is, I guess.
Yeah.
I think
I
the
don't know.
the idea of Christian characters is really helpful. I don't think we see heaps of those.
Yeah. I think it's also like it's a bit of a buzzword in, I don't know, the media in general and storytelling, but this idea of like representation and like seeing yourself represented. And I don't say that in like a cynical way. Like it is
Like
really
you
important.
identify with something that's
Yeah, really
presented.
important to be able to like see yourself in the media you're consuming, but also like stories have a really big impact on just knowing that something exists and knowing about something. And so I think I think less and less in media we have seen Christian characters that are like, I think, I don't know, it's just, that's probably a bit of a generalization.
That are portrayed realistically.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue I found.
Yeah. I think it's like a lot lately has been like I feel like demonizing Christianity and just really using Christianity as like they're the bad guys and this and that without like really actually considering the gospel or and so I think that I don't know.
It's something that's we were talking about Shockabsorber a while ago, is that it's kind of like towards the end of kind of the era of Christendom is the fact that we are becoming less and less of a Christian country, just in Australia or other Western nations are the same, but that it's almost been presented as a dangerous idea now. Not just it's moved from this is what everyone thinks or believes. This is take it or leave it, into moving into like kind of a dangerous idea. And so, are you you want to kind of recall something like Tolkien or even C.S. Lewis to try and bring that back? That's what you're inspired by?
I feel like yes, but also I don't really know. I think that I don't know. It's also hard because I feel like my mindset has just been completely like I haven't written anything in forever because I'm just like so focused on work and like.
Now we know what you're doing after uni finishes.
Spying and writing.
Spying and writing. Second cover.
Writing a spy novel about a Christian.
The great and the best
Christian spy.
The Christian spy.
James Bond.
There we go.
To a bookstore near
Christian
you.
James Bond. I don't know if that's possible.
I don't know if that works.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you balance the lying and the not supposed to lie?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
That
Amelia?
is the question.
How do you balance being a spy
goal.
and a Christian?
Yeah. That's our next goal, is to figure that out. What about
It's all an elaborate room.
Why don't we? It's almost time to wrap up the chips. Last question that we like to ask everyone. We looked across like most of your life at the moment. You've done a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
We think you might be a spy. However,
I will neither confirm or nor
wait for
deny.
wait for the question.
See now.
What do you wish? Like now, you like how old are you now?
21.
Goodness, it took a while to get to that point. 21.
Like too long to
21.
figure out.
So you're 21 now. Now that you've been a Christian for quite a while, a reasonable amount of time, what do you wish you knew your younger self or your younger Christian self knew that you know now?
I think it took me a long time to figure out the value of community and the value of serving. Like once I started serving, it took me a little bit of time to figure it out. But even before I started serving, like there was other ways that I could have served before that I think that I would have been really helpful for me back then. I think it's all just it's a journey, but I think that I'd tell little Amelia that there is a really great power that comes from a Christian community, and that and the compassion and love and real care for one another, and also just really that she will find that, and also that's really important. And
It's important to be part of a community.
Yeah.
Both because you can, like you're saying, you started when you started serving in it, but also what you get out of it in return.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the other people are serving as well.
So what you can give, and then also like what other people can give you.
Yep.
And just think I figured it out more as I got older, but like being able to talk to people that were older than me, or maybe even younger than me, but mostly older, about stuff that I was going through that they'd already been through, and then also just really being able to be open and just hearing what they went through and hearing how they dealt with it and how they grew from it, and like also just knowing that they were there to support me through that. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I have another question. Am I allowed to ask another question?
Yes.
Who's your
No.
favorite Christian in fiction?
Oh,
Ooh. I feel like maybe it's just because I've got C.S. Lewis in my brain, but like I love Lucy.
Lucy's
in
fabulous.
Lion Witch in the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Quality.
Why though? Does she remind you of you?
A lot, yeah. I
That's
think
cool.
that's mostly,
Representation.
yeah.
That's cool.
See myself in her, but then also just very playful and, she evolves over the course.
But she also calls like other people to account a lot. She's
Yeah.
like the youngest and
She's a great
Yeah.
character.
very
Very
all
honest,
stage, all age, all stage as well.
Yeah.
But she calls the others to account a lot.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like, no, and to also like in regards to their faith. And stuff
But
like
also
that.
just like really like, just like being, really just the first to like be kind and I guess that's not the first to, but like she's just
It's a
got a
default.
really kind heart and also just being like, just, wanting to be friends with people first.
Yeah,
guess.
I think I feel like you're saying she responds in love.
Yeah.
Like she goes to love first more than
Yeah.
anything else,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And I'm so glad that it's funny because I don't think I ever read Lion Witch in the Wardrobe until I read it to my kids. But I'm like, man, that's just how good
So
C.S.
good.
Lewis with all the Christian themes, as you
So
said
good.
before. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up the chips.
Wrap up the chips.
Thank you very much, Amelia. It's been really fun. Thank you. You speak very well,
Thank
so I
you.
appreciate it. And Ethan, thank you for being here for half the
It's-
podcast.
It's a pleasure to throw this into turmoil
Yes.
in the way I hopefully did.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And I'm
Anyway.
sorry, everyone listening.
That does wrap up the Chip Lunch podcast. If you are interested in talking about why we do church the way we do, Shock Absorber Conference is coming up on the 29th of October.
Check it out.
We would love you to be there. Check it out at shockabsorber.com.au if you're interested.
Shockabsorber.com.au.
Shockabsorber.com.au is
Shock
where it is.
Absorber.
Shock
Dot
Absorber.
com.
That is SHOCKABSORBER
Yep,
.com.
.com .com .au
that's right.
AU.
Great way to finish it. This has been the
She's
Chip
a
Lunch.
writer, ladies and
Yeah, she's
gentlemen.
a writer.
It took me
As she's written it.
a minute to figure out
Communications
how to spell absorber.
degree.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, thanks very much for your time, Amelia. It was really fun to hear your story. Thank you, Ethan, again. And we're like, oh, I got something
Thank you,
stuck on
Joel.
my chin from your wool. But
Sorry.
let's say we like to finish with a one way. Let's do that one way.
One way.